Hey folks, today we are taking a look at the easiest way, in my opinion, to learn your pentatonic scales. So stay with us. Before we get going today, I want to mention that I am going to start giving lessons via Zoom. So if you're interested in lessons, check out the link in the description, fill out the form, and maybe we can work together. We're going to be taking a look at these pentatonic boxes in two steps. Step number one is we have to learn our octaves. So when you play a note, whatever note that is on your guitar, you need to know where its octaves are. And here's how we're going to tackle that. And the first thing we're going to keep in mind for this is we are only using our ring finger here at the start. So looking at our guitar here, we're going to start with our lowest string, our low E string, and we're going to find an A on there. We're going to do this all in A today, just for convenience sake. So our first A is going to be at the 5th fret there. We're going to play that with our ring finger. Now the formula for this is 2 over and 2 this way. So we need to go 2 strings this way and then 2 strings up, and that's going to get us into our second octave. It's helpful if you think of the guitar fretboard as being divided into 3 octaves. So you have your first 2 strings, that's 1 octave, your middle 2 strings is the second octave, and then your top 2 strings or your highest strings are your highest octave. So for our lowest octave A here, we're at the 5th fret, low E string. We're going to go over 2 strings and up 2 frets. We get the A there on our D string. Now we're going to go over 2 strings. This time we have to go up 3 frets because of the way the guitar is tuned. All right, so from there, we can dip back down to our A string now and find our A on that string. And I'm just going to go down, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, up 2. So we're here. 12th fret on our A string, of course, is going to be the A. And now we can use the same method as before, over 2 and this way 2. Ring finger only. And the same rule that applied before is going to apply when we're hitting that highest octave here. We're going to go over 2 strings, but this time we got to go up 3 frets instead of 2. And looking at this diagram here, you'll notice the pattern that's starting to emerge here. So as long as we remember to go over 2 strings and up 2 for the most part, that will get us where we need to be as far as figuring out where these octaves are. It's just that pesky high B and E string. We have to sort of shift our thinking towards our pickups 1 fret to make stuff work. I find it helpful to, at this stage, start adding some rhythm to this. Just incorporate rhythm in everything you do from the outset. And that's going to be helpful later on. So step 2 in this process is getting familiar with the box. And there are going to be 5 boxes, just like there are 5 pentatonic positions. Now, I was always taught to use these 5 pentatonic positions. Here they are. If you want to pause the video here and memorize them, you can. They are awesome. They are cool. But the box method to me is just a little bit easier to wrap my brain around, and I think it would be better for beginners because you're really only worried about one shape and moving that around as long as you account for those top 2 strings that are tuned a little differently. So I'm going to start on my D string here with this A that we found earlier. And that's going to be sort of the top center note of my box, okay? So this is where we need to be thinking about these octaves because the octaves are, really important. That's the one note that's kind of going to go with everything, no matter what your music is doing. This is the tonic. This is our A minor pentatonic main note. And all the other notes sort of function off of this note. So if we play the box around that, that's what we get. We get all 5 notes of our pentatonic scale. And then we get one little repeated note there. So we have that octave there. And that's our sort of one extra note, giving us a total of 6 different frets to think about here. But you want to always come back to that tonic note. So now that we've built a box around this A, let's build it around this one. Now we don't have a low B string on this guitar, so we're only going to have part of a box here. Just sort of the second two strings of our box, that's okay. And now let's connect them together with a little slide there. And now if we want to find our next box, we can slide up or find our A that way, since we're good at finding octaves now. Now this next one, we're going to have to worry about how our guitar is tuned now, right? So whenever our box crosses over from the G string to the B string, it's going to be a little crooked. It's going to be a crooked box, but that's okay. It's still easy to remember that sort of basic shape as long as you account for the fact that we are tuning our guitar slightly different there in a major third instead of a fourth. So that is going to result in the crooked box. So I'm kind of, to help me navigate the crookedness there, I'm employing a little bit of my middle finger there in addition to the ring finger. So the idea behind this is wherever we find our octaves, if we're playing our octave note, our main pentatonic note that we're in the key of with our ring finger, we can very easily build this little box around it, so long as we're thinking about how the box is going to have to be crooked a little bit as it crosses over those from the G to the B string. If we map this out over the neck, you'll see we're going to end up with 5 little boxes, or little box areas, just like we have 5 pentatonic shapes. One of the cool things about the box is it's going to force us to hear our octaves and think about how we're dealing with octaves. So I've fallen into the trap of trying to learn those, 5 pentatonic shapes, position 1, position 2, all those different shapes. But then I end up ignoring which note is the tonic and which note is the fifth, and I kind of ignore the important notes and just sort of use my ears to try to make up for it, which has worked out pretty well so far. But I think if I would have started with this box method and knowing when I'm hitting a tonic and being more aware of it, it would have helped me out a little bit more. Maybe I could have been spending this time then learning, well, the tonic sounds like this, and here's how all those notes around it sort of sound against it, so I could get used to those colors a little bit more and be able to use them in solos more effectively. So we have the minor pentatonics now kind of covered all over the neck, and we don't even really have to know any music theory. All we have to know is that if we find a note, if we find what key we're in, let's say we're in the key of this. All we got to do is build our boxes around those octaves. No problem. What if we want, though, to play in a major pentatonic? Well, all we have to do is, instead of thinking about this sort of top middle note as being our tonic, so in this case A, we need to think of this note, sort of this upper corner, as being the tonic instead. So how are we going to do that? Well, we should probably sort of try to establish that key first. So if we play this, now just by changing the note we're emphasizing and sort of changing the note we're thinking about as being the most important note here, the C in this case instead of the A, all of a sudden it's going to sound major. So it's the same shape as the A minor pentatonic, but we're emphasizing the C, so it's going to sound like a major pentatonic scale now instead of a minor. that's all for this one, folks. Thanks for watching. If you want private lessons, click the link below, and I'll be in touch.